Class is in session.
How you doing? And welcome to Unlearn 16. Class is in session. So I had no idea what I was going to do today. I was coming in to doing this podcast tonight, and I had really no idea. And I was thinking maybe I'll do some True Detective. Maybe I'll do the fact that I got a ticket. I don't want to talk about it. All right. It was a rolling stop. I digress. All right. But then I went and I taught today my grade 7 and 8s. And as I walked in to my grade 7 and 8 classroom, this is a lesson I think for everybody. I walk in and they're debating who the best Spider-Man was. So you got Tobey Maguire, you got Andrew Garfield, you got what's his face from the dancing movie. Oh my god, his name's totally gone from my head. Oh my goodness, guys, fill it in the comments for the love of God. Not Tobey Maguire, not Andrew Garfield, but what's his name? It'll come to me. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The funny part was, and it does matter, it's going to bother me for the rest of this podcast, and I'm sure I'll come back to it eventually. Otherwise, for the love of God, put it in the comments. He's getting married to Zendaya. How can I? Joanna, focus. All right. They're debating on the best Spider-Man. And one of the kids says, or actually a few of them said, we really like Andrew Garfield. And Andrew Garfield, he got fired. He got fired because he was sick and he couldn't go to this, and that's the speculation. And then they started talking about mental health and how that might have played a role, and they're sort of debating amongst themselves, right? Tom Holland, for the love of God, Tom Holland. Oh, I feel so much better. Anyways, they're debating amongst themselves, and you could hear them say stuff like this. Well, if he had mental health stuff, he had anxiety and depression, they should have taken that into account. And why wouldn't they have taken into account? Of course they'd take it into account. And I jumped in and I said, guys, listen, you're in a generation where for the first time, mental health is being taken seriously as our physical health. Swear to God, 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid stops me and says, what do you mean it wasn't taken seriously? I'm like, nobody talked about anxiety or depression. Sure as heck, nobody talked about that it was going to get you out of your job or get you out of school or get you out of anything like that. And this kid looks me dead in my face and he said, but if your head's not right, doesn't even matter if your body's right. Isn't your head more important? Grade 7 and 8. If your head's not right, it doesn't matter if your body's right. And he goes, it just seems like it all follows, right? So why wouldn't you take that seriously? Anyways, and we had this sort of big discussion about that. Again, 12, 13 years old, for the love of God. And as we're having this discussion, I know that every once in a while, I try to mitigate fun. Not mitigate fun. I try to include fun to mitigate stress. Understanding that these are 13-year-old kids and they're going to school, and with the quizzes and the essays and the this and the that and the social dynamic and the puberty and all of these things sort of can ramp them up into some very, very stressful situations in which, if their head's not right, the rest of them can't do the job that they need to do, including focusing on any academic task at hand. Now, I do not think that we all of a sudden you feel a little bit of stress and you just get to call it a day. Please understand, I do not mean that. But there is a balance, guys, and I think it's time we really tried to reach it between my generation or generations not too long ago, where we say, nobody cares, get on with it, nobody's going to care in the real world, blah, 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 deal with it. And every bit of anxiety or feeling badly or is sort of debilitating, and the world's going to pad you and never make you do anything. There are two options, right? But then there's a whole gray area in between that we don't spend any time really talking about it in a real way. Um, so I can kind of see cracks in it, right? They're they did very well on my quiz, but they've amped themselves up. And so I know that they need a break. Now, when they need a break in history class, I do certain things. Now, lately, each class, this is kind of interesting, needs different outlets, right? And as a teacher, you try to figure out, what does this class need? How does this class de-escalate those feelings? Some class it's sport, some class it's trivia, some class it's, you know what this class is? I swear to God, guys, singing. The kids that are the quietest, the kids that are the most reserved, the kids that seemingly aren't necessarily have different coping mechanisms for that stress because they're relatively introverted, I let them sing, and we do it as a class, TV theme songs from like the 80s. And these kids are all in, smiling, reading lyrics, getting louder, wanting individual parts, laughing at each other, laughing at themselves. And I see such beauty in that. And when people talk about mental health and education, we need, as teachers and as a public, because God knows, I post stuff like that on that lovely little X app, and people are like, this is my money going to this private education, what a crock, blah blah blah. And all I can think about is, oh my God, are you guys so short-sighted, so limited, or just wanting to chirp me because you can't get your hair to look as cool as mine, whereas you don't see the value in kids having fun and kids figuring out how to have fun in different classes with different teachers in different ways? You want to know the beginning of mental health? That's it. The beginning of mental health is people understanding the breaks they need along the way. The beginning of mental health isn't waiting for a person to break and then trying to piece them back together with Gorilla Glue. The key to mental health is understanding how you mitigate life and the stress and the anxiety and the school of it and the family of it and the socialization of it, all of it. How can you walk through that together? And I believe that teachers and counselors and coaches and parents and all of us have a job to do when it comes to that. It's not to the negation of education, but I'll tell you one thing. Without those breaks, the education would fail. Without those moments of levity, without the idea that sometimes you can take a half hour out of a very, very serious day, and your girlfriend broke up with you, and your mom was mean to you, and you missed the bus, and sing a song and have a good time and see some sort of camaraderie about it. That's the beginning of mental health. And I'll tell you what else, if we all learn that earlier on, maybe, possibly, we all wouldn't grow up to internalize all of the crap that we do internalize in this world. Maybe we can start figuring out what mechanisms work for us. I also think that you figure out as a group, right? There's a lot of aloneness in this world. There's a lot of, I have to do this, I'm responsible for this, I'm accountable for this. Where is the, we will get through this? We can laugh about this. We can joke about this. We can struggle through this together. If you want to build a team of people, isn't that how you do it? If you want to build a bunch of individuals that never think think they never need anybody else, all you're going to do is build broken individuals. People who think they don't need anybody else, but guess what we all do? We're social animals. We desperately need all of the people that are in our world. We're just never taught in a significant, meaningful way what that looks like on different levels. And do I think school's the only place? Of course not. But for the love of God, they're spending 8 hours a day from what? Kindergarten to grade 12 at least in school. We talk about mental health, but we haven't started implementing what that looks like. And again, what I feel like the government's trying to do is like talk to kids about, bipolar, and talk to kids about anxiety disorders, and talk to kids. Guys, listen, that's just definitions. That means nothing. That means nothing. Talking to kids on their level, in their time, in their space, about what they need, how they need it, how they can access it, who they can ask for help. That is everything. We're not doing that. Well, some people aren't doing that. And pushing all of that aside, how in God's green earth are we trying to carve out a balance between kids learning Pythagorean theorem and establishing a strong, healthy sense of self, mental health awareness and balance, and the understanding that your teammates, that your group, that your class, that the people that surround you matter. They matter and you matter to them. How do we ever teach boundaries? How do we ever teach young students how to stand up for themselves? Everybody's talking about bullying, but they're always talking about how to stop the bully from doing the bullying, or even worse, how to punish the bully after they've done the bullying. Where are the big classes and the pushes about self-esteem, self-assuredness, confidence, mental health, asking for help, surrounding yourself by good people, encouraging this amazing group dynamic where you would never, ever, ever let your classmate fall? Where's that? Where the hell are those lessons? Suspend the bully, get rid of the look. You can keep being punitive and you can keep being reactionary, but if you want to create healthy children, you can't wait till they break. And by the way, the bully's also broken, because I promise you they were at home being bullied the day before. So I watched these kids today sing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And listen, Will Smith incident aside, it's a good song. It's an excellent theme song. I watch these kids let go and be kids. And by the way, I run one of the, I think, sort of highest expectation for a grade 7 history class. Well, I know it's higher than any public school class, just the way that I do it. And I know I expect a lot for them. But I say to them, I expect a lot because you are smart, you are capable, and you are in the position to be pushed, and I should be able to expect more. Period. You're not children. You know how to handle yourself, and you need to learn how to handle bigger and bigger things academically, socially, all of those things. However, working hard doesn't mean you never take a minute. It doesn't mean you never have fun. Working hard doesn't mean there's never a day where I put on my radio, hand out some lyrics, and we learn a song you've never heard of in your entire life and you belt it out. Right? Now, again, not all classes, this doesn't work for all classes. I'm actually astounded how much these guys love to sing. And by the way, I also have international students in that class. Love it. Love it. Dead quiet other times, belting out Fresh Prince. But listen, you need to find what works for that class, right? And then you need to let them have it and have a good time with it. So they know, no matter how old they get, no matter what they're going through, there needs to be a time to let loose. There needs to be a time to experience something different amidst stress and work and personal accountability. How the hell is that not our educational model. I guess part of me understands why the public board and the government's not pushing for that, because that requires A, smaller class sizes, and B, more respect and acknowledgement of the job in which your faculty are doing rather than treating them like glorified babysitters. This is exactly how our young adults start to feel two things: empowered to greatness because we expect it of them. I expect them to do everything in their power to succeed in my room when I give them the tools to do so. I expect it. And number two, they need to know that having a balance of fun and having a balance of camaraderie and teamwork and being able to step back from that and understand it's just a history class, and understand that not everything is sort of a make or break moment. That is the basis of mental health. That's it. But what have I seen recently in our culture? You either push them all in, meaning all academic, all the time, high expectation, high drive, never let down, never let go, never let them have a moments of rest. Bam, 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 bam. Or the opposite of, oh, it's my baby. I'm going to butter your toast for you. I'm going to make sure you're okay. Did you not do your assignment? I'll call in for you. Do you want a day off? Guys, folks, we're talking about 12 and 13-year-old kids. Capable, intelligent, powerful young adults. They're not adults. They're not children. We need to find a middle ground. It's hard. It is very, very hard. But I think that if you make everything clear enough, if you make those expectations that I spoke about crystal clear for both parents and students, they can respect them. They might not always live up to them. That's okay. They might not be, perfect in their acknowledgement of their responsibilities and taking them on and doing everything at 100. Okay, that's okay. But here's the bottom line. When they don't, they're going to know it's something they chose not to do or not to carry. And if it's something external, as life happens, they should also have the backup of their friends, teachers, and family to say, that's okay. We can all have this bump. We can all have this weight. We can all have this thing that we have to get through. You're going to get through it. We're going to help you. That doesn't mean you drop everything that you ever did because you now have this obstacle. It means we're going to double focus on whatever the limitation, the brick wall you were facing. We will climb it together. I'm not climbing it for you, but I'm not going to make you do it alone. Isn't that what we want our students to feel like? I had a student not too long ago tell me that they were really upset with a teacher from another school. They always tell me these stories, right? And they couldn't get her past it. And they literally switched schools because of it. And he said, I had a teacher one time tell me, like I tried to get something done and I was explaining what happened. I had a teacher look me dead in the face and say, I don't believe you. So can kids lie? Of course. Of course. Kids can lie. By the way, so can adults. But when I looked in this kid's eyes and he said, he told me that he didn't believe me. It wasn't just he was the kid was like, well, he was calling me a liar. It was way deeper than that. That kid said to me, in other words, he goes, not only didn't believe me, he didn't believe in me. And the power a teacher can have is exceptional. It's significant, especially younger students. I know I teach high school, but especially younger students. And most of those younger students, all they want in this world is for people that they admire and like, and even not, look at them and say, "You're powerful, you're intelligent. I believe in you to do amazing things." That doesn't mean we don't hold them accountable when they don't. It doesn't mean that we don't hold them responsible when they do try to manipulate or get around something or even outrightly lie to not have to face repercussions. It means, if we're any good at being teachers, we do our best to separate what they did from who they are. Because if we don't do that as teachers, we can cripple them, right? There's one thing for a student to feel guilty about something they did. It's another thing for a student to feel ashamed of the person they are. Two different things. And that's why as teachers, we have to be, and parents and everybody, really, really careful with our words, really, really careful with our phrasing, really careful with our tone. Because if we are to hold them accountable for the mistakes they make, we need to make sure they understand they are not their mistakes forever. A mistake is something they did, not who they are. Isn't that at the foundation of mental health? How in the hell is that not the main tenet, the main underpinning of education in general? I don't care what you're teaching. If you don't understand how to separate a kid's actions from who they are, and do it in an articulate fashion when you can sit down with that kid or that kid and their parents or a classroom of kids, you're doing a bad job as a teacher. And PS, don't think that I've never made that mistake. I mean, being a baby teacher, everybody's so worried about the curriculum. Stop it. Right? Curriculum and how long my tests are and all of this. No. We do it backwards. We should be worried about, how can I quickly, intelligently, correctly assess who the student is, what they need, how I can give it to them, and how I can convey my expectations to them clearly. And when they misstep, and they will misstep, and when they lie, they will lie. And when they try to get out or cheat on a test or do whatever, the power of a teacher is essential to hold them accountable for the mistakes they made, but don't make them ashamed for those mistakes being who they are. I don't know. I want to say it 1,700 times because I think it's so incredibly important. And that's why it's so incredibly important to give kids breaks in classes, especially classes they don't like and they're not good at. Make them feel strong and brave and have a good time in a math class, for the love of God. And then sit right back with them and start doing a right angle triangle and figuring out, what is it? The sine and cosine of it all. Teachers need to figure out how to tap into something that a kid feels great about, and how to make sure that that kid can still feel great even when they're doing a hard thing, even when they might fail doing that hard thing. Oh well, if we weren't a society that only judged kids by how great they do, if we were a society that started judging kids or started taking into account how hard they busted their butt to get to a 65, they had to take the class 3 times to get it, and then they did? How in the hell are we not a society that starts recognizing that, celebrating that, putting that on a freaking banner? I'm not talking about giving out participation medals, guys. I'm talking about teaching kids that struggle, that adversity, that facing difficult things and doing difficult things that you aren't good at is your superpower. You're not good at math? Cool. Who is? Let's sit down and suck at it until we don't suck at it anymore. How about that? How about we build an education system of that? So that when a kid gets out of school, they're not so narrowly focused, they can only do one job. So they actually have a level of transferable skills and they're not scared to try something new. They're not scared to step into a different work or line of work or a different room with different people. Why? Because they have an inner confidence that says, no matter how hard it sucks or how hard how much I can't understand or accomplish, it doesn't mean I'm done. It doesn't mean I'm out. It just means I need to work harder and I need to find a line through. But I'm not dropping the class. I'm not quitting the job. I'm not leaving that space. How are we not doing that? And I get frustrated because I know it's not happening in schools. I know it's not. And I know why it can't. And I know why it's not happening. And everybody's focused on the wrong thing. We live in a complex, computerized, interconnected, gonna have spaceships to Mars, instant information on our laptops, computers in our pockets. And we want to what? Tell these kids it's an easy world? Not give these kids an understanding about how quickly life's going to change and whatever they're learning today, they got to learn something new tomorrow? The rate of change is incrementally faster than ever before. It's not enough to teach kids how to memorize the plan for today. We have to be able to inspire kids and show them how when something new arises that is hard and difficult and you don't understand it, give it a minute. Give it a minute. Climb that mountain one more time and try again. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that the way we inspire a generation to actually never stop being educated, never stop trying to understand, never stop struggling in the face of adversity? That, my friends, is where real education lies. So, to sum up, teach your kids hard things. Allow them to struggle. Stand with them in the struggle. Do it again and again and again until there's a level of a success. Nobody's looking for perfection. It's never been had. And every once in a while, please pause. Teach them an 80s theme song. Have a great week, guys. I will see you next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Dismissed.